Hi, welcome to another episode of What's the Deal with Deal. Just a small spin-off of Off the Clock with Mo. I sometimes do these little short clips, no more than 15, no more than 20 minutes, I should say. No more than 20 minutes, what I'm saying? Something kind of quick, get to the point, may not dive too deep into it, but just enough just so that people can get the gist of it, and today I want to, sit back and really talk about, what the deal is for this week. And before I do that, I just want to take a shot. My favorite saying, shit, man. Please let me be in heaven for 30 minutes before the devil find out. I ain't never gonna claim I'm perfect. I ain't never gonna claim that I'm better than anyone else. I done had my fair share of fuck ups and will continue to fuck up. I just pray that I'm forgiven. Each time. I try not to make the same mistake twice. But shit, I'm only human. And by Easter being technically, this is Easter Sunday, technically today, when, Jesus rose from the dead. So may I please be in here for 30 minutes before the devil find out. And to those of you that celebrate Easter, happy Easter. Those who don't, that's fine too, but salute. I just wanted to touch on this real quick. It's the reason why um, you know, African Americans, other minorities and things like that say that, some of us, are are privileged. And being privileged don't necessarily mean you got money, what I'm saying? Don't necessarily mean you wealthy. You know, it doesn't mean any of that all the time. But, if you got the right complexion for the protection, you know what we mean, and I'm just gonna say it that, you know, by no means am I, prejudiced, racist, anything like that. But we live in a country full of double standards, where it's good for this group, it's not good for this group. This group can do this group can't do that, and we just live in a double-sided country. I mean, where it's good on one end and not good for the other. What's good for the goose isn't always good for the gander. And shit, this country's done had its, you know, fair share of symbols and signs and and ways to let you know that, hey, just privileged, And I'm saying that because I don't know if anybody is familiar with the Menendez brothers from Beverly Hills, California. These two brothers, Lyle and Eric Menendez, killed both their parents. Brutal murder. One of the brothers said that his father was molesting him. You know, said that the mother knew about it. Granted, the mother never did any. They claim the mother never protected them from it. From being molested or whatever. But this is a family worth billions, not millions, but billions. And these kids had it all. And sometimes we sit up here and think that, money is the solution to everything. And money isn't always the solution to everything. It may, get you out of a jam, here and there. It may afford you to be able to do some of the nicer things that you would always want to do, or and if you had the lack of, which that that you had more of. But it's no means is money, the end all be all when it comes to happiness. These kids at the time, 18 and 21 years old, had the world in their hands. It was an oyster. But they killed their parents because they said the father was molesting them. They came in the room of they parents' home. I think it was in the library or the study, whatever they call it. Shot through the door, hit the parents. They shot their parents a total of 16 times with a 12 gauge shotgun. 16 times. Shot the parents from the back, and then came around the front and shot them. For instance, the father was shot in the head. His head was damn near shot off. They said, the autopsy said that you can literally, the coroner said that they can literally put a fist through the wound in the head. The head was damn near decapitated. It was damn near almost off. He was shot in the hand. The father was shot in the hand, one in the left elbow, one in the knee, twice in the right arm, multiple times in the head. Remind you, this is a 12 gauge shotgun. Two of them. Both brothers had one. And their father Jose was shit. I guess you could say overkill. Their mother, who they called Kitty, that was a nickname, was Kitty. She was shot in her left cheek 3 times to the face. Her right thumb was severed during the ordeal. They thought maybe she was trying to defend herself or whatever. She was shot in the arm, the breast, the legs, and on top of that, they had to reload. They had to reload and then continue to shoot. And they found out that the brothers admitted, one of the brothers admitted to both of them doing the killing. Went to trial. Trial says, okay, you've been found guilty of first degree murder, with without the possibility of parole. I mean, this crime scene, I could imagine, had to be one of the most gruesome crime scenes out there. I think this crime scene was worse than the Charles Manson murders, in California. When they went through that killing spree, they had, these murders. This was like overkill with 12 gauge shotguns, no handguns, but shotguns, buckshots, just overkill. 16 shots, 16 shots while they sit in their study minding their own business. Even if the father did molest them, they didn't kill him, the day that he did it or the following day. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to minimize, if they was molested. By no means am I trying to minimize that. No one deserves to be molested. You can never minimize someone being molested if that's what happened. But they shot him, reloaded, shot again several more times. Not because one of them was breathing, but just because they wanted to empty out the shotgun. Matter of fact, it was a 12 gauge Mossberg. That ain't no joke. Shit. Everybody know that motherfucking sound. When you bring that motherfucking Mossberg and hit that pump, boom. Everybody know that sound. And this ain't no automatic. You got to rack that round each time. And if you don't got racket each, I'm not exactly sure which one they had, but if you don't got racket each time, when that motherfucker empty, you got to put some more in there. You got to hear that motherfucking noise of that motherfucking buckshots going up in there. And then you got to hear that motherfucker hit that motherfucker pump again and start shooting all over again. Found guilty. First degree murder. No possible, without any parole possible. They're not going to be on, they're going to spend the rest of their life in prison. And and the crazy part is now, some 30 odd years later, they get granted a re-sentence. The state of California granted them a re-sentence, and their attorneys are trying to get them on a manslaughter charge. Meaning that as soon as they get recharged again as manslaughter because they did 30 plus years in prison for that crime, that means they immediately come out of prison. After being found guilty of first degree murder. It wasn't no type of false evidence anywhere. Didn't nobody lie on, didn't nobody lie in court, didn't nobody perjure themselves. They just said, you know what, we're gonna allow you to give them a re-sentence. And that's the part of the privilege that we talk about. I don't know, maybe I could be wrong. I've never seen uh, a black person of any kind, or heard of a black person of any kind, any other brown people of any kind that's been charged, convicted of first degree murder. I ain't talking about people that was wrongfully committed. You know what I'm saying? Now, and it came out later that they got out. I ain't talking about the people that went in prison and shouldn't have been in prison because they didn't do it. This was a clear cut, as my man on Life said, the man in the movie, on the movie Life, said this looks like a clear case of murder. Open and close, shut case, first degree murder. But they get a chance to be resentenced to be resentenced to manslaughter. Manslaughter. And if you seen the photos, if you saw the autopsy report, this ain't no damn manslaughter. Manslaughter is if I'm driving and I get into an accident and the person in the other car dies. I can even be drunk driving or something like that. They're gonna give me manslaughter because I hit somebody and killed them and didn't do it on no type of purpose. I ain't do it in first degree where it's premeditated. I ain't do it in a second degree to where if you're fighting and you fall and someone hit their head on a parking block and then they die. Or no, if you fighting and then the person falls and you just keep on hitting them, and then they die second degree murder or third degree murder. When we get into a fight and I knock you out, I knock you down, you hit your head on the parking block and you die. No, it's manslaughter. Manslaughter. Damn, they're saying it was accidental. That's damn near what manslaughter is saying that it's accidental. You didn't have no plans of doing this. You didn't wake up in the morning and thought about doing this. You didn't want to hurt these people in no way, shape, or form. You didn't even know these people. But they trying to get manslaughter. It ain't guaranteed that they're going to be able to get a resentence because thankfully the Los Angeles prosecuting attorney's office is recommending that they don't get no resentence because these people killed in cold murder. They killed these in cold murder. I've never seen no other African American and no other brown person in my life get convicted of first degree murder, knowing that they did it, confessed it to doing it, and then come up and be like, all right, we're going to give you a re-sentence so you can get up on out of here. Man, and that's the reason why a lot of black folks and brown people say what it is that they say what it is that we say. You got the complexion for the protection. You know what I'm saying? It's not a racial slur. It's not even a prejudiced remark. Now, if you wanted to, classify it as anything, you can classify it as a stereotype. That you can classify as a stereotype. That ain't no different than saying black folks got big lips. Now, it may be 5 of us that don't got big lips, but shit, majority of us got big lips. That's a stereotype. A stereotype is something that helps people have an understanding. So you have healthy stereotypes and you have unhealthy stereotypes. And this right here, if anything, is a stereotype. I don't know if I can necessarily class it as a healthy or an unhealthy stereotype, depending on who it's coming from. I just say depending on who it's coming from, if that stereotype is healthy or unhealthy. But they had a protection of, they got the complexion for the protection. You know what I'm saying? They have that privilege. They're privileged. It's shit. It's a lot of folks out there that look like them like Chris Rock said one time before, and it's stand-ups. Shit, it's white folks out here. He said, I'm a rich black man, and there's poor white folks out here that wouldn't even switch spots with me and say, I'm just gonna ride this out. And this is that definition right there, riding this out. No black man ever got off on not necessarily not got off on anything, but got re-sentenced after being found guilty of a first-degree murder. And the crazy part is that I mean, I don't know if it's so crazy, but it's mind-boggling that the Menendez brothers, their the family members of their parents on both sides are saying, okay, they should come home. But shit, you have all type of black folks and brown folks family saying, let my son come home, let my daughter come home, let this, let that. And what's the main excuse? They did the crime, got to do the time. Now these two guys right here did the crime, but they're in position to not have to do the time. Shit, OJ was found not guilty, of his murders, but shit, he was guilty for the rest of his life. To the day he died, he was guilty. Even though he wasn't found guilty, he was guilty. Even though he didn't serve time, he still served time. You know, and that's and that's the part of the privilege. Being able to be convicted of murder, first degree murder, admit to it, say you did it, and then on top of that, after they murdered their family, they went on a damn shopping spree. I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump around, so much, but they went on a shopping spree. They ain't show no remorse, no nothing. You know what I'm saying? They did a full blown shopping spree for however long. Before it was found out that they were the ones that allegedly had killed their parents at the time. They went on a damn shopping spree. But that's just is mind boggling, man. It's really mind boggling that they are even considering letting these two men out of prison for a violent crime. This is a violent crime. But steady yet, you got black folks and brown folks doing time for non-violent crimes. Shit, some of them just got out for selling weed. Some of them just got out from selling weed after doing 30 years and going and went through like 10, 15 parole boards. And then some of these guys just getting out from selling weed. So that's what we mean. Privilege. The complexion for the protection. Please don't take this as a racist remark or even being prejudiced. Just take it for what it is. These guys come from money. The family that want them out come from money, and they know people. They know people. They know the right people to get something like this done. It may have took 30 years, 30 plus years done, but they're doing it. They doing it. And that's just my little spiel for what's the deal with deal. If anybody want to come on the podcast as a guest, just make a comment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can even inbox me, on my email for Maurice _ Dillard 75 at yahoo.com. If anyone wants to come on the podcast and be a guest, I'm more than happy and more than honored to bring anybody on, as a guest. But that's going to be my little, deal with deal. Thank you everybody for listening and supporting the podcast. Thank you.